The galaxy watched a funeral in real time, across countless star systems. Billions of aliens tuned into the live feed, their screens filled with the dying light of a collapsing sun. Pulsarit's energy drained by the monstrous Obraxis swarm flickered, like a candle fighting the wind. Around it floated the shattered bones of a once mighty fleet, the flagship of the Kyrath Dominion. The Valen drifted among wreckage and fire. Its hull was torn open in places, exposing twisting beams and venting atmosphere. Sparks rained across the command deck. Corpses of crew floated silently in zero gravity. At the center of the chaos, Commander Ayler, a tall, silver-skinned Kyrath officer, struggled to his feet. His breathing was ragged, his uniform shredded by shrapnel. Beside him, a small girl lay on a medbed. Her name was Lyra, the last heir of the Kyrath royal line. Her chest rose and fell with shallow breaths, her eyes half closed. Ayler pressed a trembling hand to the comms panel. His voice cracked as the transmission carried through every network the Council controlled. "This is Commander Ayler of the Valen. Our fleets are destroyed. Our worlds burn. The swarm devours everything. To any who can hear this, we plead for aid. Save us, please." His words echoed across the galaxy. In the Galactic Concordance spire, the great chamber lit up with the transmission. Alien leaders of 100 species floated, hovered, or stood tall in their positions, each represented by towering holograms. The giant hall shook with their voices. A counselor from the Avar Dominion, its insectoid mandibles clicking sharply, leaned forward. They enslaved billions. They conquered without mercy. Now they beg. Let the swarm finish them. A serpent-like delegate coiled around its dais, eyes flashing with cruel amusement. How ironic. The predators of yesterday cry like prey today. Only one figure stayed silent. Lorraine of the silver-skinned Ilari leaned on her staff. Her glowing black eyes studied the feed, focused not on the burning fleets or the screaming commander, but on the small Kyrath child fighting for every breath. She whispered, barely audible over the Council's chaos, "A child is no tyrant. Will we let her die?" The chamber did not answer. Suddenly, the broadcast shook violently. The image of the Valen blurred as a deep vibration rolled through the void. The Obraxis Queen herself was moving. The counselors fell into silence as the feed focused on the approaching shadow. The Queen of the Swarm, larger than a moon, emerged from the pulsar's dying light. Her wings stretched wider than entire fleets, her chitinous body alive with rivers of green fire. Her mandibles opened, glowing with stolen starlight. Her psychic voice thundered through every mind across the galaxy. "You beg for salvation. We are your end. You are food." The Kyrath commander slumped to his knees, tears floating from his eyes in tiny silver orbs. His people's empire, once feared across the stars, was gone.
Ow.
No allies had come. The Council had laughed. "The child," Lyra whispered again, her voice weak. Who will save us?" Lyra could not answer. He lowered his head in shame. And then something stirred in the darkness. A low hum filled the comms channel. Sensors across the galaxy flared with warnings. Something vast was tearing through real space near the pulsar, on the Valen's bridge. Damaged monitors blinked alive, displaying a growing silhouette beyond the Queen. Ayler's eyes widened. At first, he thought it was another Obraxis Leviathan. The size, the power readings, it dwarfed even the Queen, but then light rippled across its hull. Metal plates, jagged and scarred. Powering engines burned with pale blue fire. And on its front hull, etched into steel, blackened by war, was a faded but unmistakable emblem, the Eagle of Earth. Impossible. Ayler whispered. In the Council chamber, chaos returned. "Humans?" one envoy gasped. "They are dead," cried another. "They were exiled to their death world centuries ago," shouted the Avar warlord. Levon's eyes widened with something no one else dared admit. Awe. The legends were true. Humanity lives. On the bridge of the Iron Dawn, Admiral Marisade stood tall. Her dark eyes glowed in the light of her ship's weapons, her face marked with the lines of a life forged in war. "Open the channel," she ordered. a crackle of static. And then, for the first time in centuries, a human voice echoed across the galaxy. "This is Admiral Mara Saad of the Terran Exodus Fleet. We heard your plea. Hold fast." The words hit harder than any weapon. Billions of aliens stared in stunned silence. The myths were real. Deathworlders had returned. The Iron Dawn's main cannon glowed white-blue, brighter and brighter, until it burned like a newborn star. The Obraxis Queen turned, her vast body blocking the light of the dead pulsar. Her psychic laughter grew louder, mocking the humans. "You survived your death world, only to die here." Mara's eyes narrowed. Fire. The blast ripped through the void. A spear of burning plasma tore across space, striking the Queen's armored torso. Chiton shattered. The Queen shrieked, her voice breaking, echoing across. Every mind in the galaxy, on the Valen Ailer, covered Lyra's ears, though he knew it was useless. The sound was not heard. It was felt. Yet when the light faded, the Queen still lived. Wounded, yes. Furious, yes. But alive, on a lush world far. From the battle, a crowd of avian aliens huddled around a projection. Their feathers flared in terror as they saw the Queen survive the humans' impossible strike. They destroyed one dreadnought with a single shot. An elder whispered, "But if even their power cannot end her." In the council chamber, voices rose again. "They will bring doom to us all," shouted one delegate. "They are reckless. They are our only hope," cried another. The chamber split down the middle. Half the galaxy's leaders terrified, the other half desperate for salvation. On the bridge of the Iron Dawn, sparks rained down, panels blew apart. Crew members held their posts despite the chaos. Mara stood unmoved, her hands behind her back, her voice steady. "Reload the Nova Cannon. Target the Queen again. Show the galaxy what humanity can do." The counselors watching the feed gasped. Billions leaned closer to their screens. Every alien knew they were witnessing the return of a legend. The Deathworlders who fought like no other species alive. The Queen's wings glowed brighter, drawing more energy from the dead star. Her maw opened wider, green fire swirling inside. The Iron Dawn's weapon finished charging. White-blue light bled across its jagged hull, brighter, hotter, building toward another impossible strike. The camera zoomed on Admiral Mara's face. Her dark eyes burned with steel, her lips moving in. A single command: unleash hell. The screens across the galaxy went black. The galaxy had just witnessed the impossible. The Obraxis dreadnought, a beast of living metal and burning plasma, had been split open by a single strike. One beam of white-blue fire from the ancient human. Warship Iron Dawn had done what entire alien fleets had failed to achieve in centuries. The live broadcast stuttered back to life. Billions of aliens leaned forward, their cities lit by the ghostly glow of the projection. The image showed the Iron Dawn drifting calmly through the wreckage, its blackened hull, scarred but unbroken. A voice, clear and steady, rolled across every frequency. "This is Admiral Mara Saad of the Terran Exodus Fleet. Humanity has heard your plea. Hold fast." The chamber of the Galactic Council erupted into pure chaos. "They were supposed to be gone," shouted the Scaled-Avar warlord, his mandibles clattering with rage. "The Deathworlders were myths," cried a crystalline Ellery, her body flashing with fractured light. "They destroyed themselves in their wars," hissed a serpentine envoy. But Laravan, the silver-skinned counselor, stood tall among the shouting voices. Her glowing eyes reflected the Iron Dawn's jagged silhouette. "They live," she whispered, "and the galaxy will never be the same again." On the bridge of the Iron Dawn, Admiral Mara Saad stood at her post. She had been forged in the fire of Earth's last war, her face carrying the lines of both age and battle. Around her, the crew worked in silence, unshaken by the Queen's terrible roar. "Report," Mara commanded. Captain Robert Chen's voice cut through the alarms. "Outer plating scorched but intact. The Nova Cannon is recharging. 73 of our ships are through the rift. More are waiting." Mara nodded, her eyes locked on the tactical map. The swarm loomed like a storm of black wings. "They think we are prey," she said. "They have forgotten the lessons of Earth." A younger officer swallowed hard. "Admiral, the Obraxis Queen is still alive. She's feeding on the star itself." The hologram showed the pulsar dimming, its light draining into the Queen's colossal maw. The galaxy's heart was being eaten. The council chambers were silent now. The laughter from before had vanished. The delegates watched in shock as the Iron Dawn held its ground against a predator that could consume suns. "This is not possible," muttered the elder from the Solari. His watery body trembled inside its containment sphere. No one survives. On a death world for centuries, no one. They did. Ravan said firmly. And they built that. Her hand pointed at the display, where more rifts opened in the void. Out of them emerged other human warships. Some looked like ancient battleships patched with strange alloys that glowed with pale light. Others were new designs, sharp and angular, built for war. An entire Deathworld fleet revealed itself, silent, disciplined, terrifying. Inside the crippled Valen, Commander Ayler clutched the console, his body weak, his people dying around him. He could hardly believe what he was seeing. The humans once thought extinct, now stood between the swarm and his shattered fleet. Beside him, little Ira stirred. Her large silver eyes opened, shimmering with tears. "Uncle, are they real?" she whispered. Ayler looked at the projection of the Iron Dawn. Its hull marked with the eagle of Earth. He felt shame. But also something else. Hope. "They are real," he said softly. "And if the gods are kind, they may be our only chance." Opened a channel, voice shaking but firm. Admiral Sade. "This is Commander Ayler of the Kyrath Dominion. We surrender what remains of our fleet. Lead us, and we will fight." On the Iron Dawn, Mara listened. Her eyes narrowed. Her people had not forgotten the crimes of the Kyrath. But now was not the time for revenge. "Then stand behind us," she said, her voice sharp as steel. "If humanity fights, you fight with us. This is no rescue. This is war." The Alien Council leaned forward as the humans spoke. Across their worlds, citizens whispered. The word spread like wildfire. Humanity has returned. Humanity fights the swarm. Humanity holds the line. Some species wept in relief. Others trembled in fear. The council itself fractured, half calling for alliance, half demanding the immediate destruction of the humans once the battle ended. But no one could look away. The galaxy was watching legends come alive. The Obraxis Queen shifted in the void, her wings curling around the dying star. The psychic storm from her mind struck harder, sending waves of terror through every observer. Screens flickered, sensors burned out, ships lost control as the Queen's voice echoed in their skulls. "You are nothing. You are meat. You're fuel for my brood." She raised her colossal head, green fire swirling in her mouth. The pulsar's final light bent toward her, feeding her hunger. On the Iron Dawn, Mara stood unmoved. Her crew looked to her, their faces pale but determined. "Admiral," Chen said, "if she consumes the star, everything in this system dies." Mara's voice was calm, cold, unyielding. "And we will stop her. Ready the fleet. The time for hiding is over." Human warships moved in perfect formation. Dreadnoughts aligned their weapons. Carriers released waves of strike craft. Black silhouettes streaking into the void like steel birds of prey. The alien galaxy gasped at the sight. No other species flew into death so willingly. No other fleet pressed toward the Queen instead of retreating. On the Valen, Commander Ayler whispered to Lyra, "Look, they fly as if death means nothing. This is what it means to be human." The Nova cannon aboard the Iron Dawn glowed again. Brighter, hotter. The ship aimed straight at the Queen's pulsing maw. The galaxy watched, trembling. The Obraxis Queen opened her mouth wide, green fire roaring within, ready to consume the star and every life around it. The Iron Dawn's weapons screamed with light, charging for a second impossible shot. On the bridge, Mara raised her hand. 4. Earth for humanity. fire. The screen blazed white. The white-blue blaze from the Iron Dawn's Nova cannon burned so bright it washed out the cameras. For a heartbeat, the galaxy thought the Queen was dead. Then the light faded, and the truth struck like ice. The Obraxis dreadnought was going to split in half, its organic hull torn apart, green ichor spilling into the void like rivers of molten glass. Entire chunks of the beast drifted, burning in silence. But the Queen still lived. Her colossal body filled the screen once more, wings unfurling wider than mountains, mandibles dripping fire. Her psychic scream rippled across the stars, cracking the minds of weaker species who had tuned in. On the crippled Kyrath cruiser Valen, Commander Ayler stared in awe at the human warship that floated like a titan among the ruins. The emblem of Earth glowed faintly on its scarred bow. Lyra, the small Kyrath child, clutched his hand. Her voice was barely a whisper. They came. They are real. The council chamber, still shaking from the feed, fell into a hushed terror. One delegate whispered, "If they can do that, what else can humanity do?" And then the Queen's vast body shifted, her claws tearing apart more wreckage, her burning eyes locked directly onto the humans. "You survived your death world," she hissed, her voice echoing inside every skull. "Now you will burn with your prey." The feed flickered. Alarms screamed. The Iron Dawn's cannon glowed again. On the dull bridge of the Iron Dawn, Admiral Mara Sa'id stood like a shadow of steel. Her crew worked with perfect focus, their faces lit by the white blaze of the charging cannon. "Target locked," called the weapons officer. "Firing solution ready," added another. But Mara raised her hand. "Not yet." Captain Robert Chen turned to her. "Admiral, if we wait, we don't waste fire." Mara cut him off. "We make every shot count. That's how we survive the storms of Earth. That's how we will survive this." Behind them, the tactical display lit up again. More rifts opened behind the Iron Dawn. One by one, colossal human warships emerged. Dreadnoughts, carriers, heavy cruisers. Each vessel bore scars of battles long past, each one bristling with weapons forged in the darkness of exile. Across the galaxy, aliens gasped. Entire worlds stared in silence. "This is impossible," whispered the crystalline Alari. "Ambassador." The Avar warlord slammed his claw. "This is a threat to us all." They built an army in secret. But Lavan's silver eyes glowed with quiet awe. "No, this is not an army. This is a people who refuse to die." The Queen's swarm surged forward like a living tide. Thousands of insectoid warships, their bodies alive with burning. Green veins dove toward the humans. "Admiral, the Queen is adapting," Chen warned. "Her children are altering their armor. Our first strike will not work again." Mara nodded. "Then we adapt faster." Her voice rose above the storm of alarms. "All ships wedge formation. Cut a path. No fear, no retreat. Humanity leads."
Oh.
Fleet moved as one. Dreadnoughts shifted, aligning in a perfect spearhead. Fighters launched from the carriers, streaking forward like flocks of steel birds. Their engines burned with neon blue light, weaving between the Queen's acid fire. The second volley lit the void again. Dozens of swarm warships exploded, their bodies dissolving into glowing mist. But the Queen's laughter returned, deeper. Darker, in the Galactic Council, fear reached a fever pitch. "This is madness," cried one envoy. "No species throws lives away so easily. They fight like predators," whispered another. "Every strike is a death blow." "Or a warning," said Lavan softly. "Do you not see? They're showing us what humanity has become." The chamber erupted with arguments. Some begged to send fleets to help the humans. Others demanded immediate plans to destroy them once. The swarm was gone. The Speaker of the Council struck the floor with her staff, silencing the chaos. "We must decide now. Ally with the Deathworlders, or prepare for war against them." The decision split the chamber in two. Commander Aller's ship groaned as more debris struck its hull. He held Lyra close, shielding her small frame from falling shards of metal. One of his officers, bloodied and coughing, whispered, "Commander, they are saving us." Ayler shook his head. "No, They are saving themselves. We are only caught in their fire." But as he looked into Lyra's wide, terrified eyes, he felt a crack inside his chest. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Kyrath had no choice but to hope in another. He opened a channel to the humans. His voice trembled, but his words were clear. "Admiral Sade, the Kyrath submit. Our ships, our soldiers, our lives. Yours to command. Lead us. Lead us to survival." On the Iron Dawn, Mara's eyes narrowed. She remembered old records, the Kyrath enslaving entire planets, laughing as humans burned. Chen leaned close. "Can we trust them?" "No," Mara said simply. Her voice was like stone, but trust is not what matters. Survival does. She turned to the comms officer. "Tell them, humanity fights. If they want to live, they'll fight with us." The Queen reared back, her wings tearing through space itself. Her glowing maw gathered a storm of energy.
Ow.
This was no simple blast. The Swarm Queen was preparing to unleash her stellar weapon again. Admiral Technical Officer cried, "She's drawing in the pulsar's remaining core." "If she fires, everything dies," Chen finished. Mara's voice cut across the bridge, steady and cold. "Then we strike first." Her eyes blazed. "Ready the fleet. Humanity does not hesitate. Humanity does not kneel. We are the children of Earth, the death world that killed its own. And we have come home." The tactical display flares red. The Queen's maw burns brighter than any sun. The Iron Dawn's Nova Cannon glows white-blue, its energy bank screaming under the strain. The camera zooms on Mara's face, lit by fire and shadow. She lowers her hand. All ship, soap and fire. The galaxy's screens turn to blinding light. The council chamber shakes as if the storm itself has reached them. But even as the blaze rips across the void, sensors pick up something else, another rift opening behind the Queen. A strange light, not crimson, not blue. Feed cuts to static. The concordant spire had never been so loud. 1,000 alien voices roared at once, echoing off walls of crystal and steel. The great chamber, built to host the rulers of 100 worlds, shook under the weight of fear. Holograms above there. Heads still replayed the same impossible image, the Iron Dawn's Nova Cannon cutting a living dreadnought in half, its carcass burning in the void. Some species screamed in horror. Others hissed and spat curses. Still others stared in silent shock, their eyes reflecting the white blaze of human power. "This cannot stand," roared the Avar warlord, his insectoid body thrashing against his seat restraints. "You have all seen it. One human ship destroyed what 10 of our fleets could not. If they rise again, who will stop them when they turn their fire upon us?" Across the chamber, the crystalline Illyrie delegate pulsed with soft violet light, her voice ringing. "Like wind over glass. And yet, without them, the swarm devours us all. You mocked the Kyrath for begging, but humanity has done what we would not." "They fought," they answered. The hall divided instantly. Half the counselors shouted for unity with the humans. Other half demanded war against them the moment the swarm was gone. At the center, the speaker of the concordance raised her staff of light. "Silence," she thundered, but even her voice trembled. "We must decide lie with the Deathworlders, or prepare to destroy them. Which future do we choose?" The galaxy held its breath. In the silence that followed, whispers spread of old histories. The humans had once been cast into exile, their world labeled a death world, a cursed rock of storms, predators, and endless war. No one believed they could survive, but the truth now blazed across the screens. They had not only survived, they had thrived. They had built a fleet so vast and terrible that even the Queen of the Swarm hesitated. L'Raven, tall and silver-skinned, spoke at last. Her voice was steady, carrying above the chaos. "You fear them because you remember their past. So do I, but I tell you this. If the humans had wished to conquer us, they would not have saved the Kyrath. They would have let the swarm devour them and then us. Instead, they fight in our defense." Her black eyes glowed with conviction. "Perhaps we are not watching the rise of monsters. Perhaps we are watching the birth of our saviors. The chamber fell into uneasy silence. No one wanted to admit she might be right. Far away, the Iron Dawn burned forward through wreckage. Its engines roared with pale fire as it closed on the Queen. On the bridge, Admiral Marasade stood calm, her uniform torn at the shoulder, her dark hair streaked with silver. "Status of the Nova cannon?" she asked. 70% charged, the weapons officer replied. "Outer hull holding, but shields are failing," Chen added. "We can't take another blast like the last one." Mara's gaze stayed locked on the Queen, who coiled tighter. Around the dead pulsar, the monstrous shape pulsed with green fire. "Drawing more energy into her maw, she means to consume the star itself," Mara said quietly. "If she does, everything here dies. Kyrath, even the Council's far-reach beacons." Chen's voice was tight. "And what's the plan?" Mara turned. Her eyes burned with a predator's calm. "We make her choke on our fire." The sacrifice maneuver. The crew froze. They all knew what that meant. Some of their ships would not return. And yet not one voice objected. These were children of Earth, born in exile, raised in war. They'd been training for this moment their entire lives. Across the fleet, the order spread. Select ships, old battleships, patched with centuries of scars, volunteered. Their captains sent final messages home. Families gathered in mess halls, holding hands, whispering prayers. Soldiers in black exo-armor struck fists to their chests. Their voices steady, even in the face of death. One captain, scarred and weathered, opened a channel to every ship in the fleet. "We are humanity's children. We were born on a death world that tried to kill us every day. The swarm thinks it knows hunger. The galaxy thinks it knows fear. They will learn what it means when we choose to die standing." The ships angled forward, engines burning hotter, their hulls glowing as they pushed power into their antimatter cores. They were becoming weapons themselves. On the Iron Dawn, Mara closed her eyes for a heartbeat. For every storm, for every war, for every grave on Earth, we rise. The Obraxis Queen reared back, her colossal maw burning brighter. The green fire swirled like a storm, bending the void itself. She was seconds away from unleashing the energy of the consumed star. The humans did not turn back. The sacrificial ships roared forward. One by one, they vanished into the Queen's blazing mouth. The galaxy gasped. Billions of aliens screamed in horror, then dashed light. A chain of explosions erupted inside the Queen's body. Her carapace cracked open. Rivers of green ichor burst into the void. Her psychic scream rattled every mind in existence. For a moment, she writhed in agony, her colossal wings tearing themselves apart. The Obraxis dread swarms faltered, their formations breaking as their queen shrieked in pain. On the Valen Ailer stared in disbelief. They burned themselves. "To save us," Lyra, trembling, whispered. "Why would anyone fight like this?" Eiler swallowed hard. "Because they are not like us. They're human." Back at the Concordant Spire, the alien leaders clutched at their seats as the Queen's scream echoed in their skulls. "This is madness," the Avar warlord bellowed. "They are more terrifying than the swarm itself," soft-voiced delegate replied. "Yet without them, we would already be ash." "They are demons," hissed another. "Demons wrapped in steel."
Us.
Ravon rose, her silver robes glowing faintly in the holographic light.
"Oh,"
she said firmly.
"They are not."
"Demons. They are the fire we need. Without them, none of us will see another sunrise." Her words echoed in the silence. For the first time, some counselors bowed their heads, not in fear, but in shame. On the battlefield, the Queen's body still writhed, healing itself. Drinking deeper from the dead star's remains, the sacrifice had wounded her, but not ended. Her, and then space itself, cracked again. A new rift tore open beyond the Queen, glowing not red, not blue, but an eerie, shifting green-gold light. Out of it emerged a colossal, ancient shape metal, fused with bone. Eyes burning like dying suns. On the Iron Dawn's bridge. Alarms screamed as sensors locked on the new arrival. Captain Chen's voice was barely a whisper. "Admiral? That is no swarm." Mara's eyes narrowed. The galaxy held its breath. "Then what is it?" she said. The screen turned to static. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The feed, still trembling with static, suddenly cleared and then the stars, filled with shadows. One rift opened, then another, then a dozen more. The blackness of space cracked apart, spilling light and fury from each rift. A new human warship emerged. Some were vast dreadnoughts, their hulls scarred by centuries of storms on Earth. Some were sleek strike cruisers, their wings spread wide like predators about to dive. Others were floating fortresses, carriers that vomited forth swarms of fighter craft burning with blue light. Together, they formed a formation that no alien species had ever seen, a wall of fire, a spear of iron, on the Concordance councils. Chamber, a hush fell. Even the loudest critics could only stare at the impossible sight. "By the stars," whispered one delegate, his voice trembling. "It is not one ship. It is an armada." The Avar warlord hissed in fear. This is the Deathworld Fleet." On the bridge of the Iron Dawn, Admiral Marasad stood tall. Her ship's massive guns still smoked from their first impossible strike. She looked across the command deck, meeting the eyes of her crew. These were the descendants of Earth's last survivors. Warriors who had been raised in the dark void, in steel hulls battered by storms and hunted by monsters. They had no cities, no planets, only their ships, their discipline, and their unbroken. Mara spoke, her voice calm and unshaken. "We are the last of Earth. We carry the scars of a world that tried to kill us. We have faced extinction 1,000 times, and we are still here. The galaxy thinks us monsters. Let them. Today, we show them what monsters can do." The crew slammed fists to their chests. The rhythm echoed like thunder on steel. Humanity was awake. But the Obraxis Queen was not finished. Her wings stretched wider, clipsing the last flickers of the dying pulsar. Her colossal maw glowed brighter, pulling in oceans of stellar fire. The void itself seemed to warp around her as she prepared her ultimate strike. Her psychic scream split across the galaxy, boiling the blood of weaker species, shattering the minds of the unprepared. "You dare defy the swarm? You are food? Nothing more." And then the first wave of Obraxis beasts surged forward. Thousands of living ships poured across the void, their acid cannons spitting green fire. Human fighters dove headlong into the storm. Black-winged craft slashed through enemy lines, leaving trails of burning wreckage. Pilots fought with a kind of madness, twisting and rolling through impossible maneuvers, as if death itself could not touch them. On the Iron Dawn, Chen watched the tactical display. Red markers swarmed like a sea of fire. "They're adapting to our weapons," he warned. "Their armor is changing already. At us." Mara's jaw tightened. "Then we adapt faster." On the crippled Valen, Commander Ayler could hardly believe what he was seeing. Human ships, smaller than the Queen's children, cut them down with terrifying precision. They flew closer, not away. They fought as if fear was a foreign word. Child Lyra watched with wide eyes, her thin fingers gripping Aller's hand. "Uncle, they fight for us." Aller shook his head. "No, little one, they fight for survival. But if survival is what they seek, then we will fight beside them." Opened a channel to the Iron Dawn. His voice was rough, but firm. "Admiral Saeed, the Kyrath fleet is yours. We will fight under your command." On the Iron Dawn, Mara's face remained hard, her eyes narrowed. "The Kyrath enslaved us once. You laughed when we burned." Ayler lowered his head. "And let us pay our debt in blood." For a long moment, the bridge was silent. Then Mara gave a single nod. "Welcome to the Deathworld Fleet. Form up." The Galactic Council was breaking apart. The Avar warlord slammed his clawed fist. "You see, they take command of our enemies now. Today it is the Kyrath. Tomorrow it will be all of us. A trembling Solari delegate splashed inside its water sphere, and if they do not, if they fall, then the swarm will consume us. Choice do we have? The speaker struck her staff on the dais. Silence. We must decide. Do we fight beside humanity, or prepare to destroy them once the swarm is gone? The chamber erupted once more, half demanding war, half whispering of alliance. And above them the hologram of the battlefield burned brighter. Filling every corner with fire and shadow, the sacrificial warships made their runs. One after another, they plunged into the Queen's blazing maw, detonating their cores. Each explosion tore new wounds into her living flesh. The Queen screamed, her body cracking, rivers of green ichor spraying across the void. Entire swarms collapsed as her psychic hold wavered. But even as the humans struck, the Queen's body began to change. Chitin reformed. Her wounds closed in seconds. The stolen energy of the pulsar fueled her evolution. She was learning, adapting, becoming something greater. On the Iron Dawn, sensors lit up red. Admiral Chen shouted, "She's healing faster than we can burn her." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Then we burn her harder." She turned to the comms officer, "Signal all ships. Prepare the Hammerfall protocol." The crew froze. The protocol had only ever been spoken of in whispers. It meant turning their very ships into weapons of mass sacrifice as the humans prepared the Hammerfall protocol. The void tore open once more. A new rift split the darkness behind the Queen. But it was not crimson like the swarm, nor blue like the humans. It shimmered with strange golden-green light. Out of it drifted a vast ancient shape. Not alive. Not swarm. A monstrous machine fused with bone, glowing with the power of a dead age. The council chamber froze in horror. On the Iron Dawn, Chen whispered, "Admiral, that is no swarm." Mara's eyes narrowed. Her voice dropped to steel. "Then we are not facing one enemy, but two." The galaxy held its breath as the alien construct's eyes began to glow.
Ow, the feed flickered.
The battlefield was about to explode into chaos. The galaxy held its breath. The Obraxis Queen screamed across the void, her wings burning with the power of a stolen sun. She had survived humanity's suicidal attack, her wounds knitting together with green fire. Her laughter echoed in the minds of billions, deep and cruel. But then, another tear in reality. The new rift opened behind her, spilling out golden-green light. From the shimmering fracture, a colossal figure emerged. It was no swarm creature. It was no human warship. It was older, stranger, a vast machine of bone and metal. Drifting forward like a god forged in the dark, its eyes glowed with white gold. Fire. Its voice was not heard, but felt, grinding through every soul in the galaxy. "We are the architects. Humanity was our greatest failure. The swarm was our weapon. You will be erased." The council chamber erupted into chaos. Some counselors screamed, others collapsed, clutching their skulls. On the bridge of the Iron Dawn, Admiral Marasa stood still, her jaw set. Captain Robert Chen turned to her, his face pale. "Admiral, the legends. It's true, the architects are real?" The camera zoomed in on Mara's face. Her eyes burned with fury, not fear. "If they made the swarm, then this is their war, and humanity will end it." Cut to black. Music surges. Suspense builds. The architect construct moved with unnatural grace, its skeletal frame glowing with energy that had not been seen in millennia. It dwarfed even the Queen. The Obraxis swarm, so wild and unstoppable only moments ago, hesitated. The Queen's psychic roar faltered. Her wings twitched, uncertain. For the first time, the devourer of suns looked small. On every alien world, citizens whispered the forbidden name. Architects. Ancient beings. The ones who had seeded entire galaxies with life. The ones who had vanished, leaving ruins and myths, and now one had returned. Inside the Galactic Council spire, chaos turned to terror. The Avar warlord bared his fangs. "This is their doing. Humanity is tied to these monsters. We must act now." before both consume us. The crystalline Ilari delegate glowed with trembling violet light. No, can't you feel it? The Queen fears them. The architects are the true danger, not the humans. But the chamber was already splitting apart. Half the delegates screamed for war against the humans, terrified by their weapons. The other half begged for alliance, their voices desperate. Their eyes locked on the Iron Dawn, holding its ground against two nightmares at once. Lavan's voice cut through the storm. You call humanity monsters, but they fight for survival while you cower. The architects unleash the swarm. The humans fight them both. Who, then, is truly worthy to lead the galaxy? The chamber shook with fear. On the Iron Dawn, alarms shrieked. The Queen is absorbing more energy, reported the science officer. Her maw is nearly at critical mass. One strike could erase us all. Chen looked to Mara. Admiral. Between her and the architect, we're outnumbered, outgunned. Mara's expression hardened. She stepped forward, her boots echoing on the deck. When the storms burned our cities, we fought. When the ground itself tried to kill us, we endured. When you exiled us, we built in silence. We are not outnumbered. We are humanity, and we bring the weapon of silence. The crew froze. That name spoken only in whispers meant the unthinkable. The ultimate weapon, born in the ashes of Earth, deep within the Iron Dawn's core. Sealed vaults began to unlock. Engineers in black exosuits rushed to ancient consoles. Warning symbols lit the walls, signs painted by ancestors who had built these ships in the long exile. Inside a hidden chamber rested the Erebus device. It was not a bomb. It was something stranger. A weapon born from Earth's last war, built when humans fought each other under poisoned skies. A machine that consumed sound itself, not ordinary sound, but the deeper resonance of energy and matter. When triggered, it created a field of absolute silence. No signals, no screams, no weapons. Not even the hum of atoms could escape. It was a weapon against chaos itself. Mara placed her hand on the control column. The chamber lights flickered blue. The device responded to her presence as if it remembered. Her bloodline. Ready the weapon of silence, she said. Tonight, we teach gods to be silent. The Queen lunged forward, green fire swirling in her maw. Her titanic body glowed with the light of the devoured pulsar. The architect construct turned. White gold beams gathering at its core. Its voice roared again. Extinction is mercy. Humanity must not rise again. The Iron Dawn and her fleet. We're caught between two titans, both older and more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever faced. On the Valen. Commander Ayler shook his head in despair. We are finished. No fleet can survive this. But Lyra, the small child, pressed her hand against the glass, staring at the humans. Her voice was faint but steady. They will fight. They are from Earth. They will not stop. Mara's voice carried across the human fleet. All captains, prepare. This is the storm we were born for. It's the fire we were forged in. If we fall, the galaxy falls with us. If we rise as one. This is humanity's answer. The fleet roared back in unison, voices thundering. Across the void. For Earth. The weapon of silence ignited. The void itself began to tremble. Light bent. Even the Queen's psychic scream cut off mid-cry, leaving only a terrible stillness. The golden eyes of the architect flickered, confused, as if something ancient and terrible had been turned against it. On the council worlds, screens went black. Billions of aliens stared into silence, their hearts pounding, waiting for the next image. On the bridge of the Iron Dawn, Mara whispered, her face lit by the growing void of silence. Now, we show them the truth of humanity. The screen cracked with static, then went dark. The void was silent. Too silent. For the first time since the war began, there was no roar of vengeance, no hiss of plasma fire, no thunder of dying stars. The weapon of silence pulsed from the heart of the Iron Dawn, spreading a black sphere across. The battlefield, on every world, The counselors and citizens stared at blank screens. The galaxy's greatest war was still happening, but no sound reached them. No screams, no explosions, only silence. In the Galactic Council spire, the alien leaders panicked. The humans have cut the signal. No, whispered Larav, her glowing eyes wide. The humans have silenced the universe itself. And then, through the static, the feed returned. The silence ended. The Obraxis Queen filled the screen again, her scream tearing through the void with even greater fury. The silence had wounded her, but it had not killed her. Green fire bled from her wounds. Her wings beat once, sending waves of radiation across the system. The Valen shook. Entire alien outposts burned, and then she turned, her enormous eyes locking. Directly onto the Iron Dawn? You dare bind the void itself? You will learn the meaning of hunger. Her maw began to glow again. This time, it was not a stolen sunnight, was her own life force, twisted into a weapon of pure rage. On the bridge of the Iron Dawn, chaos returned as the silence field began to collapse. Red lights screamed across every panel. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Admiral, the Erebus device is overheating. The chief engineer shouted. How long until overload? Mara demanded. 3 minutes, maybe less. After that, it won't silence her. It will silence us. Mara stood tall, face carved from steel. Then we have 3 minutes to make it count. The bridge crew worked with terrifying speed. They were children of a death world. They had grown up fixing machines while storms ripped the sky apart. Fighting for food in burning wastelands. Fear did not slow them. Fear sharpened them. Target her chest wound, Mara ordered. All cannons, all fighters. We carve deeper, or we all die here. The alien leaders screamed over one another. The humans are insane. They will destroy the entire system. If they unleash that weapon again, who knows what it will do? They will kill us all. The Avar warlord slammed his spiked fist against the floor, sparks flying. I told you. The humans are more dangerous than the swarm itself. We must destroy them before it is too late. But Laravan's voice cut through the storm. Calm, steady. Look closer. Do you not see? They throw themselves into the fire not for conquest, not for glory, but so that others may live. That is what makes them different. That is what makes them dangerous to the swarm, and to any who betray them. The council fell silent again, torn between fear and awe. The Obraxis Queen unleashed her rage. The beam of green fire tore across the void, wide as a planet's orbit. Entire sections of the human fleet vanished in a wave of burning light. Hundreds of fighters dissolved into ash in seconds. A dreadnought broke apart, its hull melting into slag. On the Valen, Commander Ayler shielded Lyra as debris rained against their broken hull. The girl cried out, her small body trembling. Uncle, she whispered, they're dying. Ayler's throat tightened. He had mocked the humans once, called them weak, called them prey. But now, as he watched them dive into fire, refusing to retreat, he felt a strange ache in his chest. Respect. They die, he said, his voice low. But they die as warriors. They do not die alone. The Deathworld fleet surged forward. From the carriers, waves of fighters darted through the chaos, firing missiles into the Queen's open wounds. Explosions tore rivers of green ichor across her wings. Massive dreadnoughts fired their Nova cannons. In unison, each blast carving deeper into her colossal body. On the Iron Dawn, Mara watched the battlefield unfold. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with fury. Do not relent, she commanded. Every shot counts. Every strike cuts. Humanity has no fear of death. Humanity endures. Her voice carried across the fleet. Soldiers, pilots, engineers answered as one. For Earth. The sound echoed across the void, carried on open channels. The galaxy heard it. The Council heard it. Even the Queen heard it. But the humans were not the only ones preparing. The architect construct, vast and silent, began to glow. Its white gold eyes pulsed, and the void itself seemed to bend around it. Energy gathered in its core, brighter than a star. On the bridge, Chen's face drained of color. Admiral, it's targeting us. Of course it is, Mara said coldly. They didn't come to save the galaxy. They came to erase us. The crew looked to her, fear in their eyes. Admiral, the weapons officer asked softly, what do we do? Mara turned, her gaze sharp as a blade. We show them what the children of Earth have become. For a moment, Mara closed her eyes. She saw her ancestors' humans on Earth, fighting under poisoned skies. She saw cities in flames, oceans boiling, storms tearing continents apart. She remembered the stories of the last war, when humanity destroyed itself rather than submit. And yet, they had survived. They had rebuilt. They had forged warships in the dark, born from the ashes of their ruined world. Transmit to all ships, Mara ordered. The comms officer nodded. Channel open. Mara's voice rang out, carried across every human vessel, across the Kyrath remnants, across the galaxy itself. We are humanity. We were cast into exile, left to die. We endured storms that split the skies. We learned to fight monsters that fed on our blood, built weapons in silence, and now we return, not as prey, not as victims, but as Deathworlders. Words echoed through the fleet. Every pilot, every soldier, every survivor slammed their fists to their chests. The sound was like thunder rolling across the stars. The Obraxis Queen roared, her wings glowing with green fire. The architect construct opened its mouth of white gold light. Between them, the Iron Dawn and the Deathworld Fleet charged forward, their engines burning blue, their cannons screaming. The galaxy watched in frozen silence. On the Valen, Lyra pressed her small hand against the glass, her eyes wide with awe. Uncle, are they gods? Ayler stared at the humans, his voice shaking. No, they are worse. They are humanity. The feed flared white as the Queen's beam met the architect's weapon. Space itself screamed, bending, tearing apart. The battlefield dissolved into blinding light. The galaxy burned with light. The Obraxis Queen's beam of green fire clashed with the architect's golden weapon in the heart of space. The two forces tore into each other like colliding suns. Itself screamed. Stars in nearby systems flickered. Entire fleets were thrown off course by the shockwaves. Every world with a working receiver watched in silence. In the Galactic Council spire, alien leaders shielded their eyes as the hologram filled the chamber with blinding light. The Avar warlord hissed in fear. The Ilari delegate pulsed with trembling light. No one had words. No one could move. And in the center of it all, caught between the fire of gods, stood humanity's fleet. The Iron Dawn, scarred but unbroken, led. The line around it. Human ships burned, their crews screaming their last oaths into the void. Fighters streaked like fireflies into the storm, vanishing in flashes of light. And still, Admiral Mara Saeed stood firm, her dark eyes locked on the Queen and the architect, her jaw set like iron. This ends tonight. On the bridge, alarms howled. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The Erebus device glowed red-hot, its containment failing. Admiral, the core is unstable? Chen shouted. If it blows, it takes us with it. Mara's voice was steady. Then we take them with us. She turned to the comms officer. Transmit fleet-wide, all captains. A crackle of static hand, then her voice carried across every human ship, across the Kyrath remnants, across the galaxy. Children of Earth, this is our moment. We were cast into exile. God, they wanted us forgotten. But we are here, not prey. Weak, we are Deathworlders. We do not die quietly. We roar. Her words rolled like thunder. Across the fleet, captains raised their voices. Crews slammed fists to chests. Pilots whispered final prayers. The humans knew the cost. And still, they fought. The Queen surged forward, her wings burning brighter than suns. Her colossal body writhed, dripping rivers of green ichor across the void. She screamed, her voice filling every mind. You are nothing. You are fuel. Dart. Tendrils lashed out, piercing to human battleships at once. Their hulls cracked, exploding in white fire. The Queen fed on their burning cores, her body swelling with new power. On the Valen, Commander Ayler and young Lyra clung to the rail as the ship shook from the psychic storm. Uncle, Lyra whispered, her voice thin. They're all going. To die. Ayler's eyes burned as he watched the humans dive again and again into the storm. No, child. They fight so we live. That is what makes them human. The architect construct turned its gaze upon the Iron Dawn. Its white gold eyes flared. Its grinding voice shook every system in the fleet. Humanity was our mistake. The swarm was the cure. You will not rise again. It's a massive weapon. Core pulsed. Brighter. Hotter. The void itself bent inward as it prepared a killing strike. Chen's voice cracked. Admiral, it's targeting us directly. Mara's hands tightened behind her back. Good, she said. Let them try. The Erebus device wailed, its energy field tearing the void apart. Engineers screamed as its readings climbed beyond safe limits. Admiral, we can't hold it, shouted the chief engineer. One more push and do it, Mara cut in. Every reactor, every core, feed it. The Iron Dawn's engines blazed white-blue, brighter than any star. Power surged into the weapon. The ship shook violently, panels ripping apart. But the crew held their stations. Across the fleet, human captains followed suit. They poured their lives into one final blow. The Erebus device unleashed its fury. A wave of absolute silence ripped across the void. The Queen's psychic scream cut off mid-roar. The architect's weapon fizzled, its light snuffed out. For one terrible moment. The battlefield was still. The galaxy saw it, the Swarm Queen, frozen mid-strike. The architect, its eyes dimmed, as if time itself had been stolen from them. And then, silence collapsed. The Queen shrieked again, half her body torn open. The architect reeled, its golden light cracked. Both were wounded, but neither was finished. On the bridge, Chen's voice trembled. Admiral, the weapon can't fire again. We burned it out. The crew looked to Mara. For the first time, silence fell over the humans. Their strongest weapon was gone. The Queen and the architect still lived. Mara's voice, when it came, was low but steady. Then we fight with what remains. Guns, steel, flesh, spirit. Humanity has never needed mercy to win. She raised her hand. All ships charged, and the humans obeyed. Their ships burned forward, engines blazing, weapons. Screaming in the council chamber, silence fell. The alien leaders saw it, all the humans scarred and broken. Diving into the jaws of gods, they will be destroyed, one whispered. They cannot win, muttered another, but Laravan stood tall, her silver eyes glowing. No, they will. Endure, because that is what it means to be human. Her words spread across the chamber, across the watching galaxy. For the first time, alien citizens cried out, not in fear, but in hope. Hope, born of humanity. The Iron Dawn broke through the Queen's burning wings, cannons tearing open her chest. Fighters dove into her wounds, detonating their cores from within. The Queen screamed, collapsing, green eye core flooding the void. At the same moment, the architect fired its beam. The Iron Dawn turned its bow, its hull cracking, shields shattering. The beam tore through, ripping the ship apart, yet its final shot lanced forward, striking the architect's core. The battlefield became fire and silence. When the light cleared, the Queen was gone. The architect construct was shattered, drifting, broken, but not destroyed. Its golden fragments pulsed faintly, vanishing into new rifts. The Iron Dawn floated, crippled, smoke trailing from its ruined hull. Admiral Mara stood on the shattered bridge, her face lit by sparks, her voice hoarse but unyielding. Transmit to the galaxy, she ordered. The comms officer coughed blood but nodded. The feed spread to every world. Mara's eyes blazed. They pleaded for rescue. You turned away. Dad! But humanity answered. We are Deathworlders. We endure, and we do not forgive. The galaxy erupted in silence, then whispers, then cries of awe. Humanity had returned. But as the feed ended, far away in the void, a dozen more rifts began to flicker. Shadows stirred. Voices older than the stars whispered, the experiment is not over. the purge begins. The screen cut to black.